Hey everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful passage, one that almost works like a spiritual diagnostic tool. It's designed to help us see the difference between true illumination and a convincing illusion, between genuine faith and its many counterfeits. Let's get right into it.
This whole explainer, it really just boils down to one single critical question. How can you tell if you're actually walking in the light or if you're just chasing a mirage? And what's great is that the text we're looking at today doesn't just throw the question out there. It actually gives us a framework to figure out the answer for ourselves.
Okay, so before we can even start to understand the light, the source material does something interesting. It kind of turns the lights off on purpose. It really wants us to dissect the anatomy of darkness, to get a handle on what misguidance actually feels like. And it does this through two really powerful case studies.
So our first case study is the mirage. Just picture this for a second. You're out in a huge, vast desert, absolutely desperate for water. And then, way off in the distance, you see it, a shimmering lake. Hope just rushes through you. You pour every last bit of your energy into reaching it, only to get there and find absolutely nothing, just sand. This right here is the perfect metaphor for effort without truth.
This is a perfect illustration of what we could call false hope theology. The belief that as long as you're sincere, as long as you're trying really hard, that's enough for salvation. But the mirage teaches a really harsh lesson, doesn't it? You can be 100% sincere while you're chasing something that just isn't there.
All right, let's break this down a bit more. From far away, all that running, all that effort, it looks pretty productive, right? But sincerity without guidance, that's basically just running full speed in the completely wrong direction. And here's the real twist in the verse. The shock isn't just finding nothing. The verse actually says the person finds God there, ready to settle their account. Whoa. That shows us that, intention is crucial, but it's pretty much useless without the right direction.
Okay, so if the mirage was all about that frantic, wasted motion, this second metaphor is the polar opposite, total, complete paralysis. We're talking about the abyss. Just try to imagine being lost in the depths of a stormy ocean. No light from the sun, no light from the moon. So disoriented, you literally can't even see your own hand in front of your face. This is a whole different kind of being lost.
And this state, you could call it spiritual suffocation. It's not just about not knowing which way to go. It's so much deeper. It's about losing your compass, losing the horizon, maybe even losing your own sense of self in the process. The disorientation is so complete, it's paralyzed.
And what's really fascinating is how this state is built up in layers. It isn't just one thing, it's three things stacked on top of each other. So, at the very bottom, you've got the deep sea, which represents this profound ignorance. Then, on top of that, you have these waves upon waves. That's the overwhelming confusion. And then above all of that, you have these thick clouds blocking any possible light from getting through. All of them together, they create total spiritual blindness.
And then the verse just drops this incredibly definitive statement on us. It's a really stark conclusion that acts as a powerful hinge for the whole passage. It makes it crystal clear that light isn't something we just invent or create for ourselves. According to this source, it's something that has to be granted.
All right, so after that deep dive into diagnosing the darkness, the source completely flips a switch. It starts showing us the evidence for light, and the argument is simple. The light isn't hidden away somewhere. No, it's embedded in the very system of the universe, and it's visible to absolutely anyone who's willing to actually look.
And this is a direct shot at the idea that the world is just chaos. The core idea here is that the universe, it isn't neutral. It actually has a default setting, an inherent pull towards order and rhythm. And the signs of this, they're literally everywhere. The text says that everything, from entire galaxies down to the smallest insects, is in a constant state of glorification. Even birds in flight, it says, know their prayer. It's like all of creation is following its operating manual. And the really striking exception to all of this? Us. Humans. We're the only creatures who seem to argue with the instructions.
And this next part, it really grounds the whole discussion. It lays down the law, so to speak. It establishes that some realities are just absolute. Ultimate truth, ownership of the cosmos, the final judgment. These things aren't decided by a committee or by popular vote. Nope, they belong to God and God alone.
So, where do we actually see these principles in action? Well, the source suggests something really fascinating. You could call it theology through meteorology. Seriously, it basically invites us to just look up at the sky and see divine attributes playing out in the weather itself.
Think about the lessons that are layered just in the clouds. You see order in how they're gathered and moved.
You see immense power in the hail that could strike one place and not another. And then you see mercy in the life-giving rain that comes from that exact same system. The takeaway here is pretty clear. Nature isn't just random. It's an obedient system. And then the source points to maybe the most simple, most reliable sign of them all, the cycle of night and day. It happens every single day, so it's easy to take for granted, right? But the text calls this a profound lesson for anyone who has insight, for anyone who's really paying attention.
So what is that lesson? It's that all states are temporary. That's a huge deal. Just like the night always gives way to the day, our own moments of darkness, our despair, they won't last forever. And on the flip side, just as the day always ends with a sunset, no state of power or arrogance is permanent either. There's such deep wisdom and honestly a lot of comfort in that rhythm.
Then the focus shifts dramatically, from the massive scale of the cosmos all the way down to our own biology. And it's with this one simple, powerful reminder. Every living thing was created from water. Whether we're a creature that crawls on its belly or one that walks on two legs, our origin is the same and our dependency on that water is the same. And in that one biological truth, all of our man-made hierarchies just dissolve.
Okay, so we've dissected the darkness and we've walked through the evidence for light. So now we're at the final diagnostic. This is the core principle that's going to tie this whole thing together.
And here it is, the final verdict from the source. It states, and it does so unequivocally, that the signs are not hidden. They are not ambiguous. The evidence, it says, has already been delivered, loud and clear. This leads us to a really powerful conclusion. Clarity is actually the default state. It's already been delivered. So if we still feel confused, the problem isn't a lack of evidence. The source of that confusion, it has to be coming from somewhere else.
So this brings us to the ultimate diagnostic rule that this entire passage has been building towards. It's this: true faith produces light and orientation. Hypocrisy, that produces the mirage, lots of motion but with no direction. And disbelief, that produces the abyss, total illusion or paralysis. Let me put it another way. Mirages will exhaust you, abysses will erase you. It's only the light that truly orients you. And so we end right back where we started, with that central question turned back on us. The text leaves us with one final, very personal diagnostic. If we feel lost, even after seeing all this evidence, the question is no longer, where's the proof? The real question becomes, what is preventing me from aligning with the clarity that is already right here? That is a powerful question to reflect on. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.